Hello friends, welcome to another weekly knitting podcast video where we are quickly approaching a potential knitting project bingo. So let's go ahead and start off with our finished objects. I don't even remember where we were on these socks for my brother-in-law, but these are now an official finished object. Everybody that I am making gifts for this holiday season is getting their socks out of Patons Kroy. This seems like a boyish colorway, and even though I usually do kind of like mid ankly-ish, a little bit above the ankle socks, went ahead and made these full-length socks that are boot length because this particular brother-in-law apparently wears hiking boots a lot, so went ahead and made something that could fit in hiking boots. I think that I cast these on a couple months ago, but only had just the little bitty bit of toe on them, and decided to go ahead and finish them up this week. Just was kind of like feeling a stockinette-y, just mindless knitting mood, which led to me also making these socks a little bit longer because, once again, it is a November-y type situations. I'm wearing my docks a little bit more often and rain boots a little bit more often, so instead of going for the ankly socks, I went ahead and made them the full boot length. 2 socks down. I also finally finished that beret that I said I was going to cast on a knit last year. Look at all these colors. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Very pickles and pickled onions, swamp witchy vibes. I don't know, there's something wrong with the way I measure my head, probably because whenever I measure my head, I go where I think the hat should sit, and this was kind of like around the crown of my head, you know, where that headband is sitting, and I got 21 inches, so that informed me how big to make the whole opening, and it's still a little floppy. I made it to what the pattern says. It's just like the beret recipe that I'll link down below, so it's not a patterny pattern, but it still came out weirdly big. I'm not upset about it, but if I were to make this recipe again, I would probably, yeah, actually that's kind of cute. That works. If I were to make this again, I would probably make even the crown a little bit smaller, and maybe go down a needle size, since this was a beret recipe and not exactly a pattern. I had worsted weight yarn. I used a US size 6 needle, which is 4mm, and I think that if I wanted a nice stiff beret that kind of like did the halo effect and had the circle like just stick out like a halo, I'd probably go down a needle size just to make sure that it's a little more structured, but this is a little bit more of a tam shape. Moving on to works in progress, you might be asking, hey, did you ever do that gauge swatch for that Vintage Victory sweater? No, I haven't. So that is my one and only knitting goal for this week, is to somehow get that on the needles. A WIP that you saw last week, you saw this panel, which is supposed to be the back panel for a little baby jumper. I was like right where that blue mark is, so I did do the final 2 cable repeats, but I put it on some waste yarn and didn't bind off and do the skirt for the collar, because I think that I'm gonna get a little bit more yarn out of this, which means that I could get a little bit more length out of this. So this week I not only cast on both of the sleeves, I made them a little bit longer than the pattern called for and bound them off, and I am done with the ribbing and the first 2 rows of the cable repeat for the other side. The other 2 works in progress that we're going to need to smash to is the big blanket. Any progress is progress on a giant 2-pound blanket. And I did actually start sewing together that quilt that I had the squares cut out for. Here is the current state of the quilt on the guest bed. It does not actually reach to the bottom of the bed. This is kind of just a topper quilt. And this is a queen size bed, so it does fit almost to the edges, but not quite. It is currently glue basting. It's basically glue basted to this thrifted blanket that I still need to baste to this sheet that's going to be the backing material. This is a lot of destashed and gifted fabrics. The
navy is new, so I did have to stash enhance for that. As far as binding goes, I think I'm gonna do this blue binding. Alternatively, I could do checks, which I like, but I don't think fit the vibe of this quilt. I have this other blue binding that I already made, but it's not the same blue. I have brown. Brown could work. I just think that the blue works better. So I think that the light blue hits the vibe best, but let me know if I'm making a terrible mistake down in the comments.
Another thing that I would like to pick your little internet hive mind for, how do you think that I should quilt that blanket together? Because usually, since I've been doing a bunch of just straight square quilts, I go in straight vertical and horizontal lines. I don't know, I might want to do diagonal quilting. I might want to do just stitching in the ditch for the 9 square blocks. I don't know, just let me know what you think would look best on that quilt down in the comments below. But because of that quilt, I did elect to go to Joann's to get that navy that I did those window panes around the 9 blocks with, and stash acquired this blue fabric. I still have a good portion left, but of course, I didn't just get $5 of 1.3 yards of blue fabric if I was in the Joann's remnants section. Nay, I got remnants. This one is an 85% viscose, 15% linen, 1 yard, and it says it's navy. Hopefully it'll come across on camera that it's actually like a really dark plummy purple. I really like it, and I have made 1 yard skirts before. I think that I have some like silky rayon down here as well that I can line this with to make like a very breathable, light, summery skirt with linen rayon mix. Like, that sounds so great, right? So that is the tentative plans, and that might get me a little bit back into the vintage sewing. Let me know down below if you would love to see that. These, however, these are flannels that I thought would be cute to make a smaller, like a little baby or lap size quilt with. I have 1.2 yards for $2, 1 yard, and 1.5 yards for a little over $2. This I thought was pretty neutral. Can you see the little astronauts? Can you see the spaceships? Oh, you can see the spaceship right there. But yeah, this is astronaut spaceships. Allegedly it glows in the dark. I'm not too sure about that after it goes through the wash a couple times. If pizzas also seemed like I could just put whatever quilt scraps on it. So that's what I got from Joann's when I went. But the day after the Joann's run, when I had the quilt top all assembled, I realized that the quilt was slightly too big for the blanket that I was going to use as batting. So I had to get a new blanket from the thrift store, which of course sent me to the thrift store, and the thrift store had yarn. As you can see, the tag says this was only $17, and this is a lot of yarn. I've got like 8 240 gram balls. They are all the same brand. They look to be very similar colorways, but I think this one is slightly different than the rest of them, so it might be a different dye lot, even though they're acrylic, so it shouldn't have dye lots. It could just be all of the 7 that seem to be the same dye lot go in one blanket together, and the one that just is the slight outlier is like the crochet edging around, because I do like making myself some crochet baby blankets. Also, at the thrift store, we have this bolt of fabric. It's got, you know, the trick where you count the folds and each 2 folds is supposed to be 1 yard. I think that it's got 20 folds here. So this was 10 yards of fabric for $5. So look at the fabric. We got houses going up, houses going down, milkmaids, pirates, ships, just kind of whatever. And it's 100% cotton. If I don't feel like making a wrap dress with my thin linens right now, do you think that this would be a cute wrap dress pattern? Like, let me know down in the comments, because this might be it. Or what else you think that this might be, because if this is really 10 yards, I could make one heck of a circle skirt. I could make a double circle skirt. But that, I think, is it for the makes. For the reads, I am about a third of the way through Man Fuck This House, which it's silly spooky, and I'm really hoping to finish this by Halloween. I am filming this a couple days before Halloween, so this is my reading goal for the week. On to the audiobooks on Libby. Last week I said I was 80% done with The Dead Letter Delivery by C.J. Archer, which is mystery, detective, historical, little bit of romantic undertones, blah blah blah. It's one of those things that, you know, it's not the most complex writing, it's very tropey. I enjoy it for that. If that's the kind of literature that you enjoy, I would definitely recommend, but it's not everybody's cup of tea. I also listened to The Library of the Unwritten, which about 5 minutes into the audiobook, I was doing stuff. I was cooking, I was doing dishes, I was doing laundry, and it made me feel bad that I was ignoring the book that I have written to, and still need to do edits for, to do other stuff because my book feels bad if I'm not writing my book. And it made me feel bad. 10 out of 10. Would recommend Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hack. Then I listened to Beach Read by Emily Henry. Once again, would recommend. Once again, made me feel very bad that I'm not writing my own book right now. I did get the second book after The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy, which is The Undermining of Twyla and Frank by Megan Bannon. Definitely we stand to see an older couple. I think that one was a grandmother. It's a romance with kind of kooky, spooky vibes. Definitely recommend if you're into that. I literally just got done with The Arrangement by Sarah Dunn. It is listed as a romance, and I would qualify it more as women's fiction. Instead of building trust and communication between two adults, it's more like the exploration of an ensemble of terrible people. And one reading of it could be like, well, the male main character, he's a stand-in for the patriarchal ideals that have you, like, tear somebody away from being a good family man and blah 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 blah. But I just don't think that the author thought that through. I think that the author just wanted to say that people who have extramarital affairs are terrible people. Like, the author slut shames millennials for no fucking apparent reason, as if millennials invented free love and it wasn't like Woodstock or anything. Transphobic, and trans people are not actual people, they're just caricatures of people for the plot, just FYI. It's a rough read. I would only recommend it if you want to be infuriated. So if you have better reading recommendations for me, leave those down below with any questions, comments, or concerns. New videos should be up maybe Fridays, maybe Tuesdays. We'll see. You should like this video, hit subscribe, and hit that little bell icon so you know when I actually do post. Like always, thank you so much for watching. Stay happy, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time. Bye!